So, folks, we got some interesting new data that I think is going to inform what we're going to talk about in a moment here. G. Elliott Morris put out new numbers today indicating Donald Trump's disapproval and approval rating, respectively, over the course of, the last year. And it's really, really bad. Let's take a look. So, as you can see here, Donald Trump hasn't been more popular than unpopular since around February of 2025. And he's only gotten more unpopular and more disapproved of with time. And we have now officially hit a 60% disapproval rate of Donald Trump. Now, you of course might be saying, well, that's still a 36.5 approval rate. That's still relatively high. It is worth pointing out that at no point during Donald Trump's first term did he ever hit 60% disapproval. 60% is the top line on this graph. Donald Trump during his first term never went above 58% disapproval. So what I'm trying to get at here is that also it's not even related to a single spike. It has just been a consistent upward trend when it comes to disapproval. And he's already here, and we haven't hit the midterms yet. This graph takes place over 4 years. This graph takes place over a year and a half. In a year and a half, he managed to hit an all-time high of disapproval for himself. And this isn't like spiking numbers going up and down based on like events. This is just, he's consistently been pissing everybody off. And there's no reason to believe here that his numbers are going to improve. Like if he continues on this trajectory, give him like, I don't know, 4 more months, maybe he'll hit 70%. Genuinely. That's where we're at. Yeah, maybe a 69%. Nice goal. Exactly. And all of this is not going to be helped by the latest crisis. Now, if you haven't been paying attention for the last couple of days, I did a segment about the most corrupt thing any US president has ever done. And in this case, it's Donald Trump creating a roughly $1.8 billion slush fund for himself. I think it's like $1.77 billion. This fund is just going to be used to pay out Trump's allies whenever they get into legal trouble, cover their expenses, give them rewards for loyalty, etc. It is truly disgusting. And Republicans in the House and the Senate realize that this slush fund puts them in a terrible position because members of the Trump administration right now are going out in front of the press and saying the darndest things. Here's Todd Blanche, acting attorney general.
Account.
You're the nation's top law enforcement official right now. Would you be okay with people who were convicted of hurting police getting taxpayer money?
Just to be clear, people that hurt police get money all the time. Okay, there's a process where if you believe you have your rights violated, you can apply for funds, you can sue, you can file a claim, you can go to court. In some of those cases, the state, the government, the federal government settles those cases. It's abhorrent to ever touch a law enforcement officer, which is why anytime anybody does that, and it's a federal officer, we'll prosecute them. But that's a completely different question with whether an individual is allowed to apply for a claim, whether they'll get a claim.
Like, I gotta be honest, that this kind of response infuriates basically all of the Republican lawmakers because now they've all hung their hats on Donald Trump. They have all hung their hats on what Donald Trump does, but they're going into a midterm era where they need to make themselves look as good as possible to their voters. And guess what? Voters fucking hate Donald Trump's personal slush fund for legal woes. And that is really, really difficult. That puts them in a position where, uh, you know, I hesitate to even speak this aloud because I don't want to put the hope out there that maybe this is a breaking point for some Republicans in positions of political power. I wouldn't hold my breath for that, but also there's some really interesting news coverage coming out of Capitol Hill here. So, in particular, this piece caught my eye. GOP senators press Blanche on anti-weaponization fund intense meeting. Now, this meeting has been widely reported, and it featured a lot of yelling and took place over the course of about 2 hours behind closed doors. You could call it a curveball right at the end, and nobody could hit it. Alabama Senator Tommy Tuberville told reporters after the meeting in reference to the compensation fund. Sources inside the meeting say Blanche did not provide adequate answers or clarity about this $1.776 billion Justice Department fund announced earlier this week, which will provide taxpayer-funded payouts to people who allege the legal system has been weaponized against them. It's part of an agreement between President Trump and the federal government to settle his lawsuit against the IRS and Treasury Department over the leak of his tax returns. Basically, Republicans don't even know how this fund is going to operate. There is no congressional oversight of the fund. There is no independent review. There is no, mandated reporting on how this is being paid out. It's just a massive pile of unaccountable money that the president controls. This circumventing of Republicans is leaving them pretty upset. One GOP source who was in the room said the Trump administration dropped the news of the fund on lawmakers at the last minute and with bad messaging. The source said the administration does not seem to grasp how poorly the public views it. A senior Republican aide said that a bill to fund Border Patrol and Immigration and Customs Enforcement that the Senate was supposed to vote on Friday would have been passed if not for the actions of the administration. Members were ready to vote until the DOJ anti-weaponization fund announcement. So basically, this is leading to congressional Republicans shutting down their normal operations because that's the level of consternation this has thrown them into, right? So I just want to put out there that none of this would be leaking if there wasn't a significant number of incredibly upset Republican lawmakers. Now, will this translate into any kind of concrete action? Again, wouldn't hold my breath about it, but it's all very interesting. Let's take a quick look here at another thing. This specific quote is what really caught my eye and what I wanted to share with you guys. All right. And then I'll read you a few others. Yeah, here's a couple of the juicy quotes. "We're not going to reward people that attack policemen and people of authority," said Tuberville, who generally supports the idea of the fund. Blanche said that. Susan Collins told CBS, she's running against Graham Plattner, so she's in a tough spot. She raised the issue with Blanche, and he seemed to suggest people who assaulted law enforcement would not receive settlements from the fund. Still, she wants to see language and more clarity from the Justice Department. And it's odd that Todd Blanche said that because he just went on we just saw the clip where he went on live television and stated, people get money for hurting police all the time. What? In order to defend giving money to January 6th insurrectionists who fought police. By the way, there's a story now circulating about a man who used bear spray on a police officer on January 6th who has new charges for sexual sexual activity with a minor, and how he plans to get some of the money out of this fund because he was unfairly targeted by the federal government. In his argument, these stories are going to keep coming up. Enrique Tarrio, leader of the Proud Boys, is talking about how he wants to get in on this action. Former Trump officials, the very first one, former assistant something or other in the Trump administration last time around, I think Mark Caputo, is jumping in to try and get some money out of this compensation fund. It is really stupid and really anger-inducing, especially as people are told, well, we don't have money for food stamps. We don't have money to keep you on Medicare anymore. But we do have money to just hand Donald Trump $1.8 billion. Deeply offensive, deeply infuriating, and deeply unpopular on both sides of the aisle among constituents, of course. Let's take another look here. Bill Cassidy, a Louisiana Republican, has been becoming more and more critical of the compensation fund and said after the meeting, the kind of gut reaction is, that's not right. And if it's not right, we shouldn't be doing it. And this one I found particularly interesting. Mitch McConnell put out a statement despite not being in this meeting. And that statement said, so the nation's top law enforcement official is asking for a slush fund to pay people who assault cops. Utterly stupid, morally wrong, take your pick. That's pretty interesting to me. Mitch McConnell, as old as he is not someone without influence in the Republican Party. That statement doesn't get made to mainstream press unless it is calculated by not just him on the fly, but also his team. You know, that is it doesn't get released unless there is a pretty sizable number of Republicans backing that sentiment. So, I don't know. What I would say here is that Mitch McConnell in this case is operating as the Senate Majority Leader John Thune's mouthpiece. You know, that's the impression that I get here, because John Thune has been throughout the entirety of the Trump administration attempting to be very. Yeah, he's not trying to make headlines. He's just trying to guide the ship, as it were, as gently as possible. He hasn't been making waves in front of cameras and whatnot. And I think he intends to remain that way. He likes kind of being like a puppet master behind the scenes type. And I don't know. It's very, very interesting. Here's what he said. Okay. I think it's hard to divorce anything that happens here from what's happening in the political atmosphere around us. There's a political component to everything we do around here, so yeah, you can't disconnect those things. And then he went on to say that he was not consulted on the fund before it was announced. It would have been nice if they had consulted, and I think they probably would have gotten plenty of advice from lots of folks about it, he said, but it's water under the bridge now, and you play the hand you're dealt, and we'll sort it out from here. But, obviously it became a more complicated and bumpy path than we had hoped for, which is a very even-keeled thing to say, but I think he's basically playing the good cop to Mitch McConnell's, decrepit evil cop. And that's kind of the dynamic that's been playing out around this. Here is Senator Tom Tillis making really no secret about how he feels about all of this happening.
I think it's stupid on stilts.
Why?
Because it will invariably put us in a position where your taxpayer dollars and my taxpayer dollars could potentially compensate someone who assaulted a police officer, admitted their guilt, got convicted, got pardoned, and now we're going to pay them for that? That's absurd. The American people are going to reject this out of hand. When you take money from me to give to a purpose that I vehemently disagree with, that's tyranny, and that's what that account is.
I think it's stupid on stilts. Insane. Stupid on stilts. So if you took something stupid and then propped it up on stilts for all to see. Just a great turn of phrase, really. So yeah, that's kind of where we're at. This is ground deliberations on new legislation to a halt, which I view as a win. Donald Trump has become measurably more unpopular as time goes by. This is proving to be so unpopular that even members of the GOP who are firmly in the Donald Trump's cult and beholden to Donald Trump for practically everything, even they are like pumping the brakes on everything to slow it down and try and get this like sorted out, that to be more in their favor, to have more oversight. And they like this is truly a clusterfuck for the Republicans, and they're not going to sort it out anytime soon. My guess is, as we go forward, things are going to get more and more messy for Republicans in power. I don't know. I think that's good. I think anything that slows down Republicans at this point, anything that hinders terrible legislation passed by Republicans, anything that, you know, makes them turn on Trump or causes friction, anything at all along those lines is good, right? Every day, every hour that passes that we are able to delay them might just be part of the building blocks for a way for us to build a better future. A weakness we can take advantage of in the superstructure when it comes for to closer to the midterms, as we inch ever closer, and as we get closer to the general. I don't know. I thought it was good news. Obviously, it's good news that comes alongside incredibly dire news, and one of the most corrupt things any president has ever done, if not the most corrupt thing any president has ever done. I guess it's good to know that there's some kind of line where even Republicans will go, whoa, wait a minute. Even if that line may or may not be because they would have liked to be able to be consulted so they could get their cut, even if it is out of dubious self-interest. Slowing them down is good. So, all that being said, folks, if you want to stop the most corrupt political movement in U.S. history, it is going to take a lot of us getting organized together on the local level everywhere we can, in every state, in every city, in every village and town. We can get our presence known in. Okay, we need people showing up to their local meetings. Show up to your local Dems. Show up to your local DSA. We need people to make their Democrats more progressive, to kick out those corporatist assholes who have put the soul of the party for sale. We need people in DSA who are organizing working people in their communities. We need people who are willing to join up and do the hard work of showing up to meetings and talking with folks and getting people to coordinate action in more progressive and productive directions. So that can be you. And it relies upon all of us doing our parts where we can. Right? It's not enough to just know the right politics and political takes anymore. You got to start acting on that knowledge. So, folks, if you need help, join our Discord. Reach out to GamerG for help with DSA. Reach out to Dragonfly for help with your local Dems. And also, if you got anything out of this, hit the like button, subscribe, leave a comment. Comments longer than 8 words really help in the algorithm. And you know what? Let me know. Let me know how bad you think this scandal is on a scale of 1 to 10, and why. 10 being, I don't know, we're collapsing into a black hole from whence no light will ever escape again, and 1 being ow, I stubbed my toe. Let me know where we fall on that spectrum. And last but not least, check out ImogeneOlivia.com, gender euphoric lingerie designed from the ground up for trans femmes, also tested with cis men, cis women, non-binary folks. It is comfortable, sexy lingerie, and it's non-tuck. So go check it out, ImogeneOlivia.com, link down in the description, and let's keep on going.
Riverboat Jack is coming to town. All the viewers gather round. Twitch and YouTube and swishy streams. All that content is bursting the seams. Politics, being flame more. Your sense of fashion you'll adore. So grab your stuff and hop aboard. We're going straight to Jack's Discord. Riverboat.